I want you to picture two people who grew up in the same town, same school, same opportunities. They both started working around the same time, earning similar money. Fast forward 14 years. One of them is financially free. No debt, no money stress. More saved up than most people will ever see. The other one earns more than ever and still can't make it to the end of the month without holding their breath. These are the self-made millionaire rules that separate those two people. And if you stay until the end, you'll understand exactly which one you're currently becoming and what to do about it. Let's build the foundation before we get to the rules. You need to understand one thing, because once you get this, everything else in this video is going to click in a way it never has before. You pay for everything twice. When most people think about buying something, they think about the number on the price tag. That's it. That's the whole calculation. But there's a second price that almost nobody thinks about, and it's usually bigger than the first one. The second price is what that money would have become if you hadn't spent it. Here's what I mean. Let's say you have $2,000 sitting in a random collection of stuff you bought over the last couple of years. A gadget you used twice, some gear from a hobby you quit, a few things you don't even remember purchasing. That money is dead. It's not working for you. It just sits there, slowly losing value, taking up space, costing you mental energy every time you look at it. The self-made millionaires, they all start here. The moment you understand that every dollar you spend on something that doesn't work for you is a dollar you're choosing not to multiply, your whole relationship with money changes. In this video, I'll share 12 rules that will completely change how you spend money. And in Rule 6, I will tell you a simple trick that can instantly stop you from your impulsive buying habits. And this is the lens you need to hold on to through every single rule that follows. Rule 1. Define your enough number before your income does it for you. Here's a question that almost nobody ever sits down and answers honestly. How much is actually enough? Not how much would be nice, not how much would feel impressive. How much do you, specifically, mathematically and genuinely need to live a comfortable life and feel at peace? Because here's what happens when you never answer that question. Your income answers it for you. And it always answers it as slightly more than whatever you currently have. You get a raise. Your lifestyle absorbs it within 3 months. You get promoted. The apartment gets bigger, the car gets newer, the dinners get more expensive. You feel exactly the same. Maybe slightly worse because now you have more to lose. So you need another raise just to feel the same sense of progress you felt before the last one. This is the trap, and it doesn't care how much you earn. There are people bringing home $250,000 a year who are financially fragile, not because they're stupid, but because they never defined enough. So the goalposts kept moving, and they kept running. The people who actually build wealth, real, lasting wealth, they pick a number, they write it down, they decide what a genuinely comfortable life costs them, and they stop there. Everything above that number goes toward building freedom, not upgrading a lifestyle that was already working. Think about what that actually means in practice. If your enough number is $4,500 a month and you start earning $7,000, that extra $2,500 isn't lifestyle money. It's freedom money. It's the money that one day gives you the option to walk away from something that isn't working. Start something you actually believe in, or just sleep with that low hum of financial anxiety that most people have accepted as normal. Write your number down. Put it somewhere you'll see it. The forces pulling you away from it, marketing, social pressure, your own brain's appetite for novelty, are relentless. The number is your only defense against all of them. Rule 2. Calculate cost per use before you buy anything. Most people look at the price tag and make a decision. Self-made millionaires look at something completely different. They look at cost per use, and it changes everything. Here's how it works. A $300 item you use once costs you $300 per use. A $300 item you use every day for 3 years costs less than 30 cents per use. Same purchase price, completely different value. This is why buying cheap things you don't love is actually more expensive than buying quality things you'll use forever. The $25 pan you replace every 18 months costs more over a decade than the $120 pan that lasts 20 years. The $40 shoes you buy because they're a deal but they're not really your favorite cost more per wear than the $180 pair you reach for every single time. Run this calculation before anything. Not can I afford this, but what is this actually costing me every time I use it? The answer will tell you more about whether something is worth buying than the price tag ever could. And here's the flip side. When something genuinely passes this test, buy the quality version. Buy the thing you'll actually reach for. Owning fewer things that you love and use constantly is cheaper and calmer than owning many things you're indifferent about. Less stuff, better stuff, lower real cost. That's the equation. Rule 3. Never upgrade what already works. Here's something that quietly costs most people hundreds of thousands of dollars over their lifetime, and no single instance of it ever feels like a mistake. They replace things that work. The phone that makes calls, sends messages, and runs every app they use, replaced because a newer model came out. The car that starts every morning and gets them everywhere they need to go, traded in because they got bored of looking at it. The furniture that's perfectly functional, swapped out because the aesthetic felt dated. None of these individual decisions feels catastrophic. A new phone every 2.5 years feels normal. A car upgrade every 3 or 4 years feels like a reasonable treat. But run the numbers across a lifetime and the picture looks very different. The average person who replaces their phone every 2 years spends around $15,000 on phones alone over 30 years. Stretch that cycle to 5 years and you've saved roughly $9,000. Put that difference to work and it becomes $35,000 or more over the same period for a phone that makes the same calls. Now apply that same logic to cars, furniture, appliances, clothes, and electronics. The person who upgrades constantly versus the person who runs things until they genuinely stop working. The gap between their wealth over a lifetime is not small, it is life-changing. The rule is simple. Before replacing anything, ask 3 questions. Is it actually broken in a way that can't be fixed for less than the replacement cost? Does the new version do something genuinely different, not just slightly better, that changes what you can accomplish? Is keeping it costing more than replacing it? If you can't say yes to at least one of those, you're not replacing something, you're buying a feeling of newness. And that feeling fades within weeks. The money you spent doesn't come back. Boredom is not a reason to spend. Novelty is not a reason to spend. The existence of a newer version is not a reason to spend. This rule alone, applied consistently over a decade, is worth more than most people's annual salary. Rule 4. Run the identity audit. This is the one most people skip, and it's probably the most honest rule on this list. Open your banking app right now. Look at your last 15 discretionary purchases, not your bills, not your rent, the things you chose. And for each one, ask yourself this one question. Would I have bought this if nobody would ever know I owned it? Not would you be embarrassed, just would you still want it if it were completely invisible to every other person on earth? Go ahead, I'll wait. Uncomfortable, isn't it? Because a surprising number of purchases fail that test, and most people have no idea they're making them because in the moment it feels like preference, it feels like taste, but a lot of what gets spent is really just an answer to the question, what does this say about me? Here's the thing about that. The people you're trying to signal success to with your spending, they're usually not paying as much attention as you think. They're busy managing their own version of the same feeling. You're spending money to perform a version of success for an audience that's too busy performing their own version to notice. That is an extraordinarily expensive way to feel seen. The rule is never buy nice things. The rule is know why you're buying them. If you love it, use it, and would want it even if no one ever saw it, great. If you're buying it because someone in your social circle got one and now you feel that low-grade sense of inadequacy, that's not a personal choice. That's an algorithm or a social comparison spending your money for you. Know the difference. It's worth more than you think. Rule 5. Build friction for spending and ease for saving. Here's something nobody in personal finance wants to say plainly. Willpower doesn't work. Not consistently. Not long-term. Not when you're tired, stressed, and there's a saved credit card preloaded on a checkout page at 11 p.m. Relying on willpower to manage your money is like trying to hold back a river with your hands. It works for a while, then it doesn't, and you wonder what's wrong with you. Nothing's wrong with you. The system is just set up wrong. Human behavior follows the path of least resistance. If spending is frictionless and saving takes effort, you'll spend. If saving is automatic and spending requires extra steps, you'll save. The self-made millionaires I've studied didn't get there by being more disciplined than everyone else. They built systems that made the right choice the easy choice. Spending friction looks like this. Remove your saved card details from online retailers. Delete shopping apps from your phone. Put a mandatory waiting period, at minimum 72 hours, on any non-essential purchase over $50. Unsubscribe from promotional emails. Stop going into stores unless you have a specific item you've already decided to buy. Saving ease looks like this. Set up an automatic transfer to a separate account the moment your income arrives. Not what's left over at the end of the month, because there's never anything left over at the end of the month. The first transfer, before anything else. Pay yourself before you pay anyone or anything else. These structural changes matter more than any amount of motivation or good intention. Someone relying on willpower to avoid impulse purchases will eventually fail when life gets hard. Someone who deleted the shopping apps and removed their card details simply cannot impulse purchase in that moment. The system made the decision for them. Build the right system. Let the system do the work. Rule 6. The 72-hour firewall. And this is where it gets really interesting, because this rule costs you nothing and has probably saved me more money than anything else on this list. The desire to buy something is most intense in the first hour. Studies show that somewhere between 40 and 80% of all purchases are impulse-driven. The dopamine hit from deciding to buy something is almost identical to the dopamine hit from actually buying it. And once you've had that hit, the urgency starts to drop. So, here's the rule. Any non-essential purchase over $50, you have to wait 72 hours before completing it. You can add it to your cart, you can research it, you are not allowed to pay. What happens during the wait is this. Most of the time, by Thursday, you've completely stopped thinking about what you desperately wanted on Monday. The want fades, the money stays. And I know the objection. What if it goes on sale and I miss it? Here's the truth. Retailers create urgency. 24-hour flash sale. Only 2 left in stock. Your card is about to expire. None of this is real. It is a behavioral design decision made by people who have spent years studying exactly how to make you feel like you're about to miss something, so you act before you think. Missing a sale because you waited 72 hours is not a failure. It's you using a system that's smarter than a checkout page designed to bypass your better judgment. The 72-hour rule doesn't stop you from buying things you actually want. It stops you from buying things that you wanted for about 45 minutes. That's a very important distinction. Rule 7. Cancel everything, then only bring back what you miss. Open your banking app right now. Scroll to recurring transactions. Count them. The national average for subscription spending is around $220 a month. When people are asked to estimate their own subscription costs, they guess around $85. That's a 150% underestimation. You're paying for things you've mentally already canceled. They're still billing you. And because each one is $9.99 or $14.99, they fly completely under the radar. Somewhere right now, there's a very real chance you're paying for a meditation app you haven't opened since the week you downloaded it. So, here's the protocol. Not review your subscriptions, cancel everything. Every single recurring charge that isn't a non-negotiable like a utility or your phone. Cancel it today. Then only resubscribe to the services you find yourself genuinely reaching for within the next 7 days. What you don't reach for in 7 days wasn't serving you. You were serving it. The reason this works is inertia. When subscriptions exist, canceling takes effort, so they persist. When they're gone, resubscribing takes effort, so most don't come back. You're using the same human laziness that let them accumulate to now keep them gone. Run this every 3 months. The first time, most people find 3 to 5 subscriptions they'd completely forgotten. At an average of $15 each, that's $45 to $75 a month producing zero value, funded silently, while you wonder why you're not getting ahead. Now, everything we've covered so far is about protecting your money from quietly leaking out. The next rules are about actually building something. And the math in this next section is the part that most people never sit with long enough to feel the full weight of it. So stay with me, because this is where it changes. And if you're getting value from this video and want more practical content to improve your financial future, hit subscribe. Okay, now let's move to the next rule. Rule 8. When your income goes up, lock the lifestyle before it expands. Every time most people get a pay rise, something happens. Not immediately, gradually. They tell themselves they've earned a small treat. The treat becomes a new baseline. The baseline becomes normal, and normal is invisible. This is called lifestyle creep, and it is not a character flaw. It is a deeply wired human response to improved circumstances. Your brain normalizes the upgrade almost immediately and then recalibrates enough upward. The restaurant that used to feel like a special occasion becomes just a Wednesday. You stop noticing the price. That is not success. That is an expensive Wednesday that used to mean something. Here's the rule. When your income increases, 75% of the increase goes directly to savings and building assets before you adjust a single lifestyle expense. If you get a $10,000 raise, $7,500 goes somewhere it can work for you. The remaining $2,500 is yours to enjoy however you want. This feels like a sacrifice until you run the numbers over time. The version of you that exists the day before a raise arrives is perfectly comfortable at your current lifestyle. You've been living it. You don't need anything the new income offers. Let the increase compound quietly. Your current lifestyle is already someone else's dream. You adapted to it. You'll adapt to not upgrading it too. And in 15 years, you'll have something that the people who absorbed every raise into their lifestyle never will. Rule 9. Automate everything so willpower never has to show up. At some point in your life, you told yourself you were going to start saving more. You meant it. You were completely committed. It lasted about 3 pay cycles. Then something came up, or nothing came up, but somehow the money still wasn't there. And you told yourself you'd start again next month. Next month came, same story. That's not a discipline problem. That's what happens when you rely on intention instead of infrastructure. The people who consistently build wealth aren't more motivated or more virtuous than the people who don't. They just automated the decision so it never has to compete with everything else going on in their lives. Here's the system. On the day your income arrives, not the day after, not when you get around to it, an automatic transfer fires to a separate account. That account sits at a different bank with no debit card attached, so accessing it requires a deliberate, inconvenient extra step. Your savings is no longer the money left over after you've spent. It's the first thing that moves. Your spending account gets what's left, and you live within that. One more thing that most people overlook. Set your savings contribution as a percentage of your income, not a fixed amount. That way, every time your income grows, your savings grows with it automatically. You never have to remember to adjust it. The system handles it. The order of operations matters more than people realize. When savings comes last, it gets whatever's left, which is usually nothing. When it comes first, spending adjusts. It always adjusts. Humans are extraordinarily good at living within limits when those limits are structural rather than voluntary. Build the infrastructure, let it run, check in quarterly. That's the whole job. Rule 10. Translate every purchase into time. Here's a way of thinking about money that I want you to carry permanently after this video. Not as a rule you apply sometimes, as a reflex. Money is time. Not metaphorically. When you spend money, you are spending the hours of your life you worked to earn it. Take your monthly income after tax and divide it by 160, roughly the number of working hours in a month. That's your real hourly rate. For someone bringing home $4,000 a month, that's $25 an hour. Now translate every purchase into that. A $500 weekend trip costs 20 hours of your life. A $700 phone costs 28 hours. The average car payment at $700 a month is 28 hours of your life, every single month for 6 years. That's 336 hours a year, roughly 8.5 full working weeks every year, going directly to a vehicle that loses more than half its value over that time. The question isn't, can I afford this? The question is this worth the hours of my life I'm trading for it? Some things pass that test easily. A good mattress you sleep on every night for a decade. A tool you use in your business every day. The thing that actually makes your daily life better in a real, lasting way. These are worth the hours. The $180 jacket you'll wear twice costs $90 per wear. The subscription you forgot existed is still charging you 40 minutes of your working month every single month, quietly. Money feels abstract. You earn it, spend it, earn more. Time is the thing you cannot make more of. When you start measuring purchases in hours rather than dollars, something shifts. The number is more honest. The decision gets clearer. Rule 11. Measure wealth by options, not possessions. The conventional way most people measure wealth is by what you can see: the car, the apartment, the clothes, the visible markers. Self-made millionaires measure it completely differently. They measure it by what they can choose. Can you leave a job that's destroying your health without panicking about next month's bills? Can you take time off to deal with a family situation without checking your bank balance every morning? Can you start a business without needing a guaranteed income on day one? Can you say no to an opportunity that pays well but costs you something you're not willing to give? These options, this freedom to choose based on what you actually want rather than what you can afford to risk, this is what real wealth looks like. And it is only available to people who've built a meaningful gap between what they earn and what they spend. The person earning $180,000 but spending $175,000 has almost no real options. They're chained to their income. One disruption, one unexpected expense, one difficult month, and the whole structure is under pressure. The person earning $70,000 but spending $45,000 has genuine freedom. They can absorb disruptions, they can take calculated risks, they can make decisions based on what they actually want. This changes how you think about every purchase. You're not just exchanging money for an object, you're trading optionality for possession. You're choosing in that moment to have slightly less freedom in exchange for having the thing. Sometimes that trade is worth it. Often it isn't. But you should always know you're making it. Rule 12. Build your freedom horizon before anything else. Here is the final rule, and it's the one that ties everything together. If you lost your income tomorrow, no warning, no severance, just gone, how long could you survive without changing a single thing about your life? Count the actual days, not "I'd figure something out." Specific days of runway before the first bill goes unpaid. For most people, that number is somewhere around 2 weeks. That is not a cushion. That is a tightrope with no net underneath it. That number, the months you could survive with zero income, is your freedom horizon. And it is the single most honest measure of your financial health. Not your salary, not your net worth on paper, your freedom horizon. Because your income means nothing the moment it stops, and you collapse in 60 days. Here's what's striking about this. Research consistently shows that having just a small, accessible emergency buffer produces a massive shift in financial well-being, not because of the specific amount, because it extends your freedom horizon past the point where every unexpected expense becomes a crisis. A broken appliance is no longer a financial emergency. A slow month at work is no longer a threat to your stability. An unexpected bill is just an inconvenience. This is exactly why some people sleep well on modest incomes while others can't sleep at all on six figures. The difference isn't the number, it's the buffer. It's the freedom horizon. Build 1 month first, 1 month of your actual living expenses sitting in a separate account at a different bank with no debit card attached. You don't touch it for anything except a genuine emergency, not a sale, not a gap, not an opportunity. 1 month. Then 3. Then 6. When you reach 6 months, something in you will shift. The low hum of financial anxiety that most people have accepted as a permanent background noise in their lives starts to quiet down. Not because nothing can go wrong, because you've built enough margin that something going wrong no longer means everything falls apart at once. That specific silence where the money stress used to be, that's what financial stability actually feels like. Not a salary, not a title, not a balance sheet. The freedom horizon is the number that tells you whether you own your life or your life owns you. So, here's the truth. The two people I described at the start of this video weren't separated by luck, talent, or even income. They were separated by these rules, applied consistently over time, quietly compounding in the background while everyone else was busy upgrading things that already worked. None of this is complicated, but simple isn't the same as easy. It requires you to be honest about why you spend what you spend and deliberate about what you're actually building. Start with one rule today. Whichever one landed hardest, that's the one. If this video helped you see your finances differently, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, and drop a comment telling me which rule hit closest to home. I read every single one.